Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film, and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 1989's Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, which was directed by Rob Hedden. I'm your co-host, Alec.
On Eric,
And this is it. This is the final one.
we got a movie.
This is our final Friday the 13th film. We've covered them all now. Yeah, so this is the 12th one that we've covered.
What a way to end it.
Yeah, we definitely ended on the worst one for sure. Like, well, I actually like 9 less than this. I know that's crazy. Some people are going to be mad, but fuck it. This one's really bad, though. This one's really bad.
It's really bad.
This one's like real bad. But hey, if you like Friday the 13th, you've definitely seen it. You know what it is. And I've seen this like probably 5 or 6 times throughout my life. I knew it was bad. So I went in just being like, all right, I know, fuck it. Let's look for the good things in it. And I did find a few. There are a few good things in this. But overall, what did you think? What did you think of this one?
I mean, did he take Manhattan? Jesus, he was barely in Manhattan.
No. Yeah. No. No. He didn't take Manhattan at all. I can explain why. Actually, I watched a ton of documentaries on the making of this movie. And the director, the writer and the director of this film, Rob Hedden, he actually directed a bunch of episodes of the Friday the 13th TV series. And they were like, hey, do you want to direct the next movie? And he's like, sure. So he came up with this script where he was going to go to Manhattan. He was going to go to the Statue of Liberty. He was going to go to the Empire State Building. He was going to go to the Brooklyn Bridge. He was going to hit all of like the main tourist.
Money.
Yeah, exactly. So they were like, yeah, you can film in New York for 2 days. Everything else is going to be in Vancouver. And he's just like, cool. So he basically said that the script was 2/3 in Manhattan and 1/3 on the boat. And then they completely had to switch that, and then it turned into 2/3 on the boat, and I don't know. It's not Manhattan, so he's only in Manhattan for the Times Square shot. That's the only part that was actually filmed in New York.
Which is a really cool shot, and then the billboard shot hit like the hockey game or whatever.
That's Vancouver.
Well, yeah. Oh wait, yeah, but that it's supposed to be in New York, but that was cool. But that's like Times Square, obviously. Yeah, that was New York, and then I don't know. Yeah, that's it, right? That was the one shot.
That's literally it. Yeah,
So they really were probably there for like a day.
they were there for 2 days. Yeah, Kane Hodder talks about it. There's a documentary called, I think it's called Camp Crystal Lake Stories or something like that, and they go through every film. And Kane Hodder was like, it was the best 2 days of my life. He's like, everybody was coming up to me. I stayed in character the whole time. Everybody's taking pictures, and but we had to shut the street down for 2 days, and it's so expensive and so dangerous. So yeah, so they had 2 days, but Kane Hodder had a good time, so that's fun.
And I'm happy it's Kane Hodder in this. It was cool.
Yeah,
He's probably the best Jason, right?
it depends on, a lot of people think the Part 6 guy is really good, but Kane Hodder's the only one to play him, multiple times, so.
True. So he's technically like the Jason you think of, right?
Yeah.
Have to be.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's the most like imposing, but yeah. Yeah. I mean, because if you watch the whole series back to back, you do see the little nuances in the stature and the quickness and everything like that. Like, but it's kind of cool because like in the first 2, 3, and 4, he's definitely faster than he is after that, but he was alive then. And then he gets resurrected in 6, and then 6, 7, 8, and 9, I guess and 10, he's a zombie. This one, dude, is kind of interesting because obviously you've seen Part 7 a million times, with Lars Park Lincoln, and that one ends with him being tied up in a, chain put at the end of Crystal Lake or whatever. We don't know the time that's passed between 7 and 8. So Jason's just been sitting underwater for like, who knows, like a year maybe? Honestly, who knows? And I think that's really cool because in Part 6, when he got resurrected, he was in a grave. So he comes up, he's got worms, he's a zombie. This one, he's like water bloated and disgusting.
That definitely has pruny fingers. We'll just say that.
Yeah, but it's interesting because in Part 6, he gets brought back by a bolt of lightning that like hits a pole that goes into his body. And you're like, ooh, okay, so like evil probably put that lightning bolt there or whatever. But this one, it's literally just 2 horny teens and their anchor catches on a electricity cable and then it hits Jason's body and you're like, okay, sure. I don't expect, greatness, obviously.
Yeah, I mean that's how you get him out of the water.
Yeah.
An anchor.
I'm just happy that they at least like acknowledge that the 7th one happened and that he's there, because, they do a good job of trying to bridge them. I did look at an online video of how part 9 started though, and they just completely ignore everything from this movie. Everything from all the other movies, basically.
Is that Jason Goes to Hell? Which one's that?
Yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah.
they're just like, whatever, he's at a camp, fuck him. It's fine.
Yeah, didn't the camp blow up in one of them too, or something?
No,
Or like the house.
the SWAT team in part 9 comes and like, blows stuff. They throw grenades at him and everything, but they don't blow up the camp. They just blow him up.
Okay.
But yeah, this one though, I mean,
Yeah.
the characters suck.
It's way too long.
It's so much longer than it needs to be. Like, shave off 20 minutes of the boat scene and just get to Manhattan quicker and then end the movie, honestly. It's way too long.
That's like my biggest takeaway. It's like I think you could have shaved 25 minutes off this and no one would have complained as
Yeah.
much.
If this was like 85 minutes long, I think people would have been fine, but it's an hour and 10. I mean, sorry, an hour and 40 minutes. So it sucks.
Yeah.
It drags so long. But the basic premises of this is like there's a graduation party at Crystal Lake or whatever, and they're taking a boat from Crystal Lake to Manhattan for their graduation party or whatever.
Which I never knew Crystal Lake. You could end up reaching Manhattan. So it's not really a lake.
All right, let's do this then. I looked it up. I was like, I need to know because this is too crazy. So this is what I did. I went to Friday the 13th Part 1. It was filmed in Hope, New Jersey, so I know that these movies take place in there or whatever, even though they're filmed everywhere. So I looked at the camp and the lake that it was filmed at. Technically, I literally did this. I looked at the Apple Maps. You could take a boat from Crystal Lake through a bunch of rivers and streams and all this stuff, and it eventually will get to the ocean, and then you can get to Manhattan.
Wow.
But the thing is, I think that these rivers and the lakes and everything like that, they're too small for a boat like that. Like it's so fake.
It wouldn't steer perfectly through. It would just end up on the side of the bank.
I guarantee you on my life, there is no way this boat could do what it did. Like,
No,
no.
no. An unmanned boat.
You would never do this. That's the thing. Like, you would just drive from New Jersey to New York City. You would never take a boat this far from that lake. But here's the other thing. I thought about it too. I was going crazy, dude. So the way that Jason gets onto this huge, cruise line boat or whatever is he kills the people in the beginning. It's just a boy and a girl who are on the boat and they are at Crystal Lake. So then he gets on the boat and the boat just happens to go into the same bay that this cruise line's at.
And does it like dock with the other boat or something? What happened? Like,
well, he just like jumps out and then like climbs onto the anchor or something and then climbs onto the boat. But the movie starts off at Crystal Lake, but I don't think this cruise line is taking off from Crystal Lake.
so you think this smaller boat made it through a bunch of rivers and stuff, and this boat is like almost like out to sea,
Yeah, I mean,
like in the New York Harbor.
but here's the other thing, dude. Like, no matter what, it's not going to take overnight to get from New Jersey to New York City on a boat. Like, it's not. Like, it would take a couple of hours. It's not going to because they leave. It's daytime. It's light when they get on the boat, and then they do an overnight. There's a storm that happens overnight. It's still the same night by the time they get to New York City or whatever. I just like, dude, they would have left at like 9 a.m. They would have got there at like maybe 2 or 3, and that's how it would have gone. Like, but this one, they're like, oh, they're going to be in it for a rough night. And you're like, why?
Maybe it was just like more of a cruise, like, oh, look at that, we'll take you around the harbor. I mean, it's not like in a direct like flight, like it's going around.
I don't know. It's all bullshit. It doesn't matter.
It probably was going to take you to the Liberty Island, and no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm looking way too into this. But yeah, we're supposed to believe that Camp Crystal Lake is somehow connected to the ocean. And yeah, so there we are. But yeah, so before any of that even starts, the movie just starts off with a couple on a boat and they're hooking up or whatever. And then they're like, oh, we're at Camp Crystal Lake where all those kids got killed. And then he tells the recap story about Jason so that the audience what audience member is seeing this movie that hasn't seen the other ones? But sure, he's giving us exposition. So then he throws the anchor overboard. It hits the electricity wire. It hits Jason's body that's left over from part 7. It gets reanimated, comes on the boat and kills them. Here's the thing I hate, Eric. The mask gets an axe in it in part 3. And from part 3 onward, he's had the same mask, and this mask has that axe mark in it. And I love that because I'm like, oh, they carry it over from each movie. It wasn't in, he didn't get the hockey mask until part 3. And then from that point forward, he's got that axe mark right above, in the head or whatever. and he had it in part, 6, 7, and now in this one, he does not have his mask when he's underwater. He takes that other kid's mask. That's the same exact hockey mask
I
that
know.
also has the axe mark in it.
That was the exact replica mask. It was perfect.
It was an exact replica mask of Jason Voorhees' mask, not of a hockey player mask. So that pissed me off that it had the axe mark in it because that kid shouldn't have had that.
That's really, really stupid. That's terrible. That pissed me. That's like, it's like, what?
Yep. Yeah. So that really, really pissed me off. But anyways, who cares? Fine. Whatever.
We'll move on. I think this whole movie is like, you're just watching it and you're just like, I just keep going. Like, I can't overthink this. And you just have to like forget all the shit that happens, which is like constant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I will say, even before that, I forgot about this. I liked the opening of the movie. I thought like the montage of New York City and showing how
The
gross and grimy.
music.
The music was sick, dude. The music was good.
And the shots were cool too. Like this, there was a subway shot. There was like a skyline shot. The
Yeah,
the text and titles were cool. It's like, all right, this has a cool vibe to it. It's very 89, right?
yeah. I like that.
Yeah, and it had like the junkies, like all shooting up heroin and stuff.
Yeah, and the rats coming. I mean, dude, they make New York look horrible in this
Yeah.
movie.
Well, there's a line at the end where it's just like, "Lee, there's a maniac trying to kill me." She's like, "Welcome to New York, sweetie."
Yeah,
That was like the best line in the movie. They should have made that in the trailer. Like that's perfect.
yeah,
Welcome to New York, baby. I mean, clearly that was the marketing. It's like he goes to New York, it's all New York, and it's
yeah.
like he's there for 6 minutes. And we filmed it there for 2 days.
The title and the poster make you think it's New York, not a boat ride.
There's nothing. There's barely any New York in here. And like you just said, it's filmed in Vancouver, probably for tax reasons too. So, yep.
Oh, well, yeah, yeah, everything about it. They're like, hey, just take a generic city, and they should have just called it like Jason Takes like Hoboken or something, or I don't know, because New York City's way too ambitious, and it never delivers even close. So
In New York's like it's $1.2 million to shut down the street for 8 hours. It's like you go to Vancouver, it's like, well, do it for like, a couple bags of combos and a diet Dr. Pepper if you have it. Like it's like, oh, that really saved our budget there.
so that's the thing. It's like if you saw this movie opening weekend and your friend was like, dude, like, so what did he do? And you're like, it's a fucking boat ride, man. He doesn't even he barely gets there. So after that, this was the least profitable of all of them.
Yeah, yeah, let's walk through the stats. This movie came out July 28th, 1989. Nice summer flick. It's an hour 40 minutes, 40 minutes too long. Its budget was about 5.5 million. Its box office was 14 million. Rotten Critic 11, Rotten Audience 26%. So
Yeah.
a lot of critics didn't like this movie. And the budget being 5 million, making 14 million in the box, I'd say this barely broke even when it came to marketing. Maybe lost money.
Yeah, and at this point they were done. So they actually sold the rights. Paramount sold the rights to New Line Cinema after this movie.
No, so the Freddy rights right
Yeah,
there, right? That's who
they did.
owns. Okay.
So they sold Jason to New Line. So New Line was like, "Oh, we're gonna make Freddy versus Jason," and yeah, so
Who was it? Who was it before?
Paramount.
This is Paramount did this movie. Oh my God. This is
I know.
insane. This is insane.
This is Paramount's last Friday the 13th movie. Yeah. Well, maybe they did the remake. I think they did the remake, but I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So the opening's cool. Then we already talked about what happens immediately after that. Jason gets on that boat, kills those two teens. Which, dude, the way that girl gets killed is crazy. He just takes like a fishing spear and very slowly like shoves it into her stomach. It took like 4 minutes for him to do it.
Yeah, these kills weren't good. It was weird. I mean, there's a couple good kills, but then
There's one good kill in this movie. We'll get to it. But I thought the opening of this, I was just like, seriously, Jason? Like, okay, like that's pretty cool. Whatever. So yeah, he kills those two people, gets a new mask, which is his old mask, and great. And he's disgusting. I mean, he's like a bloated fish, basically. He's been underwater and, he's fucked up. So then he gets to the boat. We get to meet all of our bullshit teens who none of them matter. There's one girl they try to make you care about named Rennie, and she's like, I don't know, traumatized by water. Like, we barely get into it, but she's like, it's like, you shouldn't be on this boat. Like, we know with your condition. And she's like, I'm facing my fears. And we never really know. I guess it's water. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, we learn why she hates water, like towards the end though.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah.
And she has like a connection. Then her like uncle like throw her in and like just, like you learn how to swim, and like it was Camp Crystal Lake that she did that.
That was like 10 years ago, though.
I know, it's like that's how everyone has to learn how to swim, is you go in the water.
She just remembered it like on this trip, but she's been trying anyway. So she doesn't know why she's traumatized of water until she goes on the trip, and then she remembers later that her uncle pushed her into the lake when she was like,
Oh, and there was like baby Jason, like kid Jason in the water with her. That was what it
yeah,
was.
they're very unfocused.
That's so stupid.
Anyway, so she's the final girl. She's the girl we're supposed to care about. Her uncle is also a teacher. She has this other female teacher named Miss Van Dusen, which I thought was kind of funny. And she's like the one that's like, I love you. You're going to be great. You're going to do great things. Like, here's a Stephen King's pen or whatever, because you're a writer, whatever. Fuck it. Who cares? I'll see you on the boat. So she gets on the boat. We meet, a couple other teens or whatever. Like the captain of the ship, his son is also on the boat. They try to do some drama there. Who cares? There's a punk rock girl. There's a nerdy film school kid. There's the hot bitchy girl. It's just all it's stereotypes and bullshit. And who cares? So then we get on the boat. The boat starts moving. Jason's on the boat. There's also like this weird callback to Ralph from the first couple movies. There's this guy on the boat who's just like, "You're all doomed. You're all gonna die." Like you're like, why are you on the boat with them then? Like, so yeah. So we have a crazy character.
Yeah, he did the exact Ralph shit. He's like, "You're doomed. You're all
Yeah.
doomed." It's like, what like are they doing with this movie?
This ship is doomed. It's like, then get off.
No, why is it doomed? What happened in the ship in the past? It's like nothing. It's doomed.
Yeah, Jason might come from the lake in a boat and he might get on it.
That's why it's doomed. It's like that makes no sense.
Eric, here's the biggest plot hole in the movie, okay? Every other Friday the 13th film has been kids coming into Jason's camp and Jason being like, "What the fuck are you doing in my camp?" and killing them, okay? He doesn't seem to be focused on revenge. He literally is driven by, "Get out of my camp, and if I see you, I'm gonna kill you." This one, he's like on the prowl. He's like who is he even chasing right now? I mean, he doesn't know any of these characters. They're not in Crystal Lake. He killed people that were on a boat in his lake. Then he gets on the boat drifts away.
I think the idea is Jason doesn't know that he's not on Crystal Lake anymore.
He killed them and then the he must have pulled up the anchor too. Because the anchor wasn't like that's what resurrected. I don't know. It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, it don't. Do you think this movie makes sense? There's nothing about this. Nothing about this movie makes sense. Nothing.
He's on the boat and kills those two teens, and then the boat drifts. Why wouldn't he just be like, "I'm going to get off this boat right now"? But he doesn't.
Maybe he took a nap because
That's so dumb. That's so dumb. I can't.
and he's like, "Oh, this must be Crystal Lake still because it's water."
Well, it fundamentally changes what Jason is because it's like he's not Michael Myers. He's not trying to go after somebody specifically. He's like Leatherface. He's like protecting his home from invaders. And then, so this is like, nah, now he's out for revenge and he's on a boat and he doesn't care where he's going. Also, how does he get back? Or whatever. Doesn't matter. So yeah, so Jason's on the boat. We meet all these bullshit characters. It really doesn't matter. They're just like, doing cocaine, boxing, just wasting time. And Jason goes and just kills each of them basically until they're like, "Oh, someone's on the boat." And then it's like, "I bet it's Jason." And they're like, "Who?"
It all blurs together, all the kills. I'm like, I remember some girl getting killed by the glass, and another girl get killed by like in the shower. Another guy was in like a sauna and just like had like a piece of coal put through his stomach or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
Every
what?
kill on the boat is pretty bad. Yeah, one guy gets like thrown through like a flagpole and he gets stabbed through that. Yeah, he kills the captain by like slitting his throat. That was dumb. Really quick though, there's that one rocker girl who's just like, playing the guitar and stuff like that. Here's what we're supposed to believe. It's 1989 and she wants to be a guitarist, okay? So she was able to get a tape that had a song with the guitar solo, all the guitar parts taken out of the tape so that she could play along with it. Because whenever she plays her tape, everything's playing and then we hear the guitar, her playing the guitar. I don't know if that existed in 1989. Where you're like, "Hey, I want to get like a record or a CD," or not a CD, like a CD in 1989, whatever, anything.
Yeah, master tapes with parts removed. Yeah, you could do that.
In 1989?
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, so this girl has one of those. She has a song with the guitar out, and then she just carries her electric guitar with her everywhere and plays it. And the teachers aren't like, "Hey, stop." They just allow it to happen. So Anyways, they all get killed. The only thing kind of interesting that happens, which again leads absolutely nowhere, is the hot girl is doing cocaine. She's afraid that she's going to get in trouble. So then the teacher comes to her room and she tries to seduce the teacher and they're filming it or whatever.
Yeah, it's like I want to get blackmailed before I get caught or something, right?
Yeah, she like didn't do her project or something. She was going to fail or whatever. So she blackmails the teacher. But then the next scene, she gets killed. So you're like, why even do that scene then if there's there's no, I don't know, it doesn't matter. So anyway, let's just get off the boat. So yeah, there's a huge freaking storm that happens. The captain's dead, everybody's dead except for the son of the captain, our lead girl Rennie, the mean teacher, the nice lady teacher Miss Van Dusen, and then
Ralph, the Popeye guy, right? The Sailor Man. Is he alive?
No, he's dead. He's dead before they get to Manhattan. Yeah, so what's his face? Julius, he's there. So there's like 5 or 6 of them basically, and they get on a lifeboat, and the lifeboat just happens to drift to Manhattan. And they're like, "We made it!" And they're showing the Statue of Liberty and stuff. And like, "Yay!" And then they get to Manhattan, and somehow Jason's there. He swims to Manhattan from this boat and just walks up a ladder somewhere and is able to find them in a city of 8 million people. Jason, who has never left Crystal Lake, swam all the way there. How does he even know how to swim? He drowned by not knowing how to swim. Now he's an Olympic swimmer, and he makes it to Manhattan, and he smells where these fucking kids that got away are.
That and what did these kids do to him?
He didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. That's why this movie is horrible.
I mean, aside from the cocaine girl, there wasn't like a lot of bad stuff going on this boat.
Rennie and Julius and the other guy, I think his name's
Nothing.
Danny, they didn't do anything. They didn't have sex. They didn't do drugs.
Yeah, they seem
Dude,
like good people.
Julius is like going to school for a boxing scholarship.
Yeah, he seemed great. I was like, oh, good, he's a good boxer.
These kids did nothing, okay? So that's why this movie sucks. It fundamentally changes Jason from the start, everything about it.
But here's the other kicker. They don't know it's Jason. They just think like, we got to get this son of a bitch.
Well,
Like, who tells them it's who it is?
they're like, I think it's Jason Voorhees. Like, I bet it's him. Like, the rumor starts to spread on the ship that Jason's coming. So, like, some people are like, yeah, I bet it's him. Other people are like, he's dead. Like, the old man is like, Jason Voorhees is dead. But, you know, he's not, and he kills everybody. So, yeah, then we get to Manhattan. And throughout the entire movie, we didn't mention this, there's, for some reason, baby Jason, or like, 10-year-old Jason, whenever he was supposedly drowned, he keeps appearing to Rennie, and basically, like, randomly, she'll just see Jason for no reason. We never really know why.
It's weird, yeah, too, because like he looks different every time.
Yeah, the makeup was changing. He had hair sometimes. He didn't have hair other times.
The underwater scene, he had like a full-on mask or something. It was weird.
They had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then in Manhattan, this is just a complete waste of time. They meet these junkies, and basically Rennie gets kidnapped, and they're like, we're gonna rape you. And they're like, oh, we should go help her. And the uncle's like, don't go, they'll kill her. And they're like, no, we're gonna go. Jason then steps in, kills the rapist, takes 6 bullet shots, and then Rennie gets away. And yeah, I mean, they get the police. Jason then kills the police officer. They get a car, they start driving, and this is one of the funniest scenes in the entire movie is when it like goes slow-mo and then zooms in on Jason's face as a kid or whatever when she's driving the car.
That was horrible. Yeah, that was awful. That was really bad.
That looks like a mistake.
I watched this shit after the debate, and it was like pushing midnight at that point, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm watching right now. I'm gonna have some weird dreams.
That's like the worst scene. I mean, that
Yeah.
shot is just like, it's like, dun, 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 and like, it's awful. So it makes them crash the car, which like, what are they doing at this point? I guess they're just running from Jason. But yeah, at that point, Jason then kills the teachers, so they're both dead. Oh, and this is the best scene in the movie. This is what we missed. They're in New York City, and Jason is fighting Julius, which we see Julius as the boxer, and he's like really good. He's undefeated.
I actually liked that scene. I thought it was pretty good. That was like one of the best shot scenes in the movie.
By far, yeah. And Julius and Jason are on the top of a building, and Julius is just going to town on Jason, just punching him in the face, punching him in the gut. It's kind of like an unbroken shot. It goes like, it's far away, it's close up, but it's pretty consistent. And you see Julius getting tired and like gets a little bit more energy, hits him a couple more times, doesn't do anything, gets a little more energy. You see his hands are bleeding from punching the mask, and like it looked good. It reminded me of Rocky. It's like Rocky just taking a beating and then fights back or whatever. And he stands up and he just goes, "All right, give me your best shot, motherfucker." And then Jason, one punch, knocks his head clean off
Knocks his block off.
right into a dumpster. Yeah, that was the best shot of the movie for sure. That and the Times Square scene. So yeah, if you're gonna watch the movie, watch it for that scene, which you can probably just find on YouTube. So, but anyways, so best kill of the movie, my favorite scene for sure. And then yeah, so the movie ends with Rennie, her dog. Oh, no, the dog's not with them. Rennie, her boyfriend, I guess, whatever, the other guy who's alive.
Dude, it's time out. I'm honestly trying to remember how the fucking movie ends.
I remember. It's insane.
It just ends on the dog, right?
No. Well, they find the dog and then, but before that, they go into the sewer.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and they're like they meet like a guy down there or whatever, and he's like, what are you doing down here?" He's like, "Every night at midnight, the sewers flood with toxic goo." You're like, "What?"
That's New York, baby.
I lived in New York for like 8 years.
What is this? The fucking Ninja Turtles? Like,
Yeah, they're like toxic waste or whatever goes through the subway. It's like, no, it doesn't. Okay, it doesn't, but sure.
technically, New York is gnarly, but
No, not like that.
I don't think toxic goo goes through at midnight. Like,
It definitely doesn't. That's impossible. That's the dumbest thing in the world.
Get out of the sewers. It's almost midnight.
Yeah. So Jason comes down there, he kills the guy that told them that, and then they start climbing out, but then the goo starts coming. So they take like a spoonful of it, throw it in Jason's face.
Yeah, they like acid attack him.
Yeah. So here's the thing. It looks terrible. Jason's face looks awful. It looks like if a teddy bear just got like, I don't know, like a dog chewed its face apart and you put it through a washing machine a bunch of times. Like it looks awful.
I think I paused it at that moment just to see how much fucking time was left.
It's basically over at this point.
I was like, all right, there's like 3 minutes left. I was like, all right, let's get this over with.
It looks terrible. It really does. But I will say, the only thing I'll give it credit for is in part 7, his face is like really fucked up. He looks like a dinosaur, basically. Like, he looks great in part 7. He's like my favorite Jason ever. This one, though, his face would not look like it did in part 7 because he's been underwater for so long. So I don't like it, but I can kind of understand why his face would look all like smushy like that. And obviously there's acid thrown on it and there's smoke coming off of it, but like his face shouldn't look like it did in part 7 because it should be waterlogged. So I know they weren't thinking this when they did it, but I want to give it some credit.
Yeah, let's say the goo did it.
Yeah, so the goo makes him look awful. And then we see the toxic waste come through the sewer. It burns Jason up. And then for some crazy reason, the body of like 8-year-old or 9-year-old Jason then comes out of that. And he's just sitting on the ground, like crying or whatever. And you're like, why? Why? But anyway, so I mean, as far as we can tell, Jason's dead. I mean, he was washed in acid and toxic waste and then turned into his little kid self. So I don't know. I mean, there's part 9 and Jason X after this, but they never really explain how he gets out of the situation. But yeah. So then they climb out of the sewer. They're like, we can't believe we did it. We got away. And then they find the dog and they're like, it's okay. And then the movie ends.
Credits roll and you're just like, I'll never get that time back.
Yeah. So probably I personally like this one better than 9. I think 9 gets insane with all the possessions and, Jason's not really Jason. He's just possessing people. I don't like that one. But this one's really bad. This is like the worst of like Paramount ones for sure. But, I will say though, I'll give him a little bit of credit because parts 1 through 7 all take place at Camp Crystal Lake in the summertime with camp counselors or teenagers just coming to the camp. This one tried something different. It didn't work.
Yep. I get that.
But you can't just make Jason into a predator. Like he's not that. He's like a spider that you've gone into his den. He's like, get out of here. I'm gonna kill you, basically. Or I'm definitely gonna kill you if I see you.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the first one is he's a kid who's alive in the lake the whole time, pretty much. Who's grown up. His mom gets killed, and then he's like, all right, now I'm mad and I'm gonna save my mom, pretty much, right? Or is he resurrected?
Yeah, so we don't. Hopefully, this new Camp Crystal Lake show will explain this because it's never really been answered. But yeah, part one is Jason's mom, Mrs. Voorhees, getting revenge
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
because he apparently drowned in 1957 or 58 or whatever because the camp counselors are having sex, they weren't paying attention, and Mrs. Voorhees was the chef. So that's what we're led to believe. But then in part two, Jason comes back, and he's been alive the whole time.
Well, at the end of the first one, he's still out there, is the idea.
The jump cut or like the scare ending is
No, with her in the hospital, and she's like, he's still out there.
yeah, she says that, and then in part two, which takes place 5 years later, he is there, and he's a woodsman basically, and he's got a bag on his head, and he's getting revenge because they killed his mom.
That's what I'm trying to get at, and that's why when you go to his lake, you're the people that killed his mom, pretty much, is my take.
That's how he sees it, but it just doesn't make sense because why would Mrs. Voorhees be on a killing spree if Jason has been alive this whole time? So they're going to need to explain.
Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
So they need to explain that in this prequel TV series that's apparently coming out. So hopefully they do. I think that Mr. Voorhees is alive the whole time. He's been living in the woods and he saves Jason and raised him in the woods. That's what I think is going to happen. But we'll see.
Whoa.
Because otherwise nothing else makes sense. He couldn't have died because he's alive in the second, in the third, and the fourth, and then he gets killed in the fourth, and then he's a zombie from 6 through 10. So I think, yeah, they have some explaining to do. It's kind of like the fucking Michael Myers thing where they're like, well, somebody was teaching him how to drive, like.
Maybe there's a Jason and a Jason Jr., and the dad has been Jason all along.
We'll see.
I know, that's a hot take. People would fucking hate that, though. It's like, he's not the little kid the whole time. What about that scene in Jason Takes Manhattan?
They're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
Anyways, this one is, yeah, pretty bad. So check it out, I guess.
Or don't check it out. I mean, there's other Jason movies.
Yeah, there's so many better ones. This is like definitely the bottom. But who knows? If you're a completionist, you have to do it. And the other thing is, like, I hated the
Barely. Yeah.
Dude, Jason sounded like a monkey or something. It's like he was like growling and stuff. Like it was bad. Anyways, any last minute thoughts on this bad boy?
New York, baby. Just New York.
I know. What a misleading title and poster and everything. Yeah. But all right. Well, you want to spin the old wheel?
Yeah.
Wait. No, actually, we're doing a special episode next week. I forgot we're doing our first video episode.
Right.
So actually, yeah, we're a little surprise bonus episode. So it's going to be the 10 greatest horror villains of all time. So we will be Eric and I both have a list of 10. We're going to do the math live on a video. So get ready for that. It's going to be the first video episode ever.
It's going to be live?
No.
If we're doing it live? Like, what if we say something really bad?
No, it's not live. But it's a video. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I already worked on my 10. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, me too. So, all right. Well, everybody, thank you very much for listening into our discussion on Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, the final Friday the 13th movie on the Wheel of Horror. So, if they do make another movie or another series, we'll definitely cover it. But up until now, we've done it all. So, anyways, thank you very much, and we will see you next week with our first video episode, the 10 greatest horror villains of all time. You know, Will?
I would.
It's like not picking it up.